LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hey everyone, it's Meredith. You're listening to the Afternoon Snack Podcast. Today's episode was inspired by a talk given by Yuri Oswald recently on my trip to Arizona. And he titled that talk, The Power of Yes, which is the title of this episode. I'm borrowing it. And I've been reflecting on that talk and on this topic since I heard it, because I think that we all, in our lives, at certain moments, or maybe in many moments, say yes to something that turns into something. Maybe something good, maybe something not good, but usually at an absolute minimum, a lot of learning and growth. And so that's the theme of this episode. Alex and I are gonna tell some stories and walk through moments in our lives that we leaned into and said yes when maybe everything in our body was saying no. Don't do that. Avoid that feeling. That's not gonna go your way. And it was a meaningful walk down memory lane that I enjoyed doing for my own sake, but we get into some new reflection on old things that happened that we're seeing through a new lens, and then also kind of where we're going and moving forward based on some of these yeses. So it's kind of an abstract episode, but I hope you'll hang in there and listen to it. I hope that you get something out of it, because we sure got a lot out of recording it. This is going to be an episode of stories, so we're going to skip an intro story. And the title of this episode is The Power of Yes, I think. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. I'm actually stealing that. And I mean, an homage to the inspiration for this. Not only has it kind of just felt like a theme for us generally, but Yuri Oswald, who's I spent some time in Arizona with Yuri, who we've met. We met him at RPI a couple of years ago. He has a long history as a bike racer, has been involved with Giant for a long time, works for Goo, and now does a lot of storytelling kind of in the space. And so we were at dinner one night at the house of Heidi and Sander, where like a lot of our gatherings would occur at the end of the day. Killer event, by the way. I've plugged it a little bit, but I haven't plugged it enough. Put that one on your calendar for next year.
What's it called?
It's called Training Grounds. And so Heidi and Xander's company is called the Cyclist Menu, and they put on guided like gravel events in and around Arizona. And they also run an event called Spirit World Gravel, which is a race that happens, I think, in November. So this was the first iteration of this event, which was a co-hosted event with Merchant Cycles, Christy Moan. And it was amazing. It was the first time that they've run it. So it was a smaller group. It felt very intimate, but it was really, really cool. Yuri was there to guide, because he has a property down in that like Patagonia area and has done lots of riding in southern Arizona. Like a lot of his content that he does on YouTube through with Giant and his sponsors is done in southern Arizona. So it's like one of his favorite places to ride. So it was a really cool weekend, really just like hanging with Yuri and Kristen Ligon and Christy Moan and all these people. And so one night Yuri was giving a talk, and his talk was called The Power of Yes. And he told a little bit of his story about how he got, just by saying yes was how he got involved in gravel biking, because he was a road guy for a long time. And then a few people he knew at the camp and kind of highlighted, you said yes to doing Unbound 50 way back, this many years ago, and now you're doing the 200. A couple more connections like that. And it got me thinking about how doors do tend to open when you say that word. And when you, whether to yourself or to an invitation or to someone else, when you just say yes, like things can change and can precipitate from that. So that's the background and the inspiration for this episode. And so I thought it would be cool to each of us, you and me, Alex. I like to throw your name in just in case people are listening and they're like, wait, which one is which? This is Meredith. You are Alex. I thought it would be neat for us to come up with 3 memories or things that we can recall that are on the theme of the power of yes. When we said yes and how that changed something in our life after. So, does that sound cool?
Yeah, I actually just thought of another one that I might have to throw in there.
Okay, so you might have 4.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. We can roll with it. I think we'll have time.
Okay.
So I flipped a coin to figure out who would go first, and you weren't involved in this coin flip.
Right.
I did it privately.
Yeah, I'm sure you have lots of
Without
coins
you.
lying around.
I do. I can't find one right now, but anyways, I flipped it. And you're going to go first. So why don't you tell us a story about the power of yes?
Okay. I'm going to start with the one I just thought of.
Okay. Well, this is messing up my outline.
I know. Just roll
Okay,
with it.
okay.
About 8 years ago, this person who I really, really liked wanted to come and live in the same city as me. And I was terrified. Absolutely terrified. Because I had never been in a long-term relationship, a serious relationship.
Bitch, don't play with me. You said no.
I know. I didn't say no.
Okay.
I didn't say no. I was extremely hesitant. And so I didn't want to be responsible for you uprooting your life for me. And so I was very resistant to moving forward with the relationship and having you move to my city. I couldn't move because I was articling. So it was kind of Meredith moves or we continue long distance or we don't. But I can't see us not.
Articling sounds like a writing career. It's not.
It's like the year before you become a lawyer, after law school. So I did say no at first. But Meredith is extremely persistent and didn't really take no for an answer. You were kind of looking for a workaround. So Alberta, if you're not familiar with Canada, is on the west side of the country, but not the farthest west. It goes BC, then Alberta, then Saskatchewan. So Meredith first decided, okay, I'm going to move to BC, the province that's kind of like a state next to Alberta, but couldn't afford Vancouver, which is where you would have lived.
Yeah, and
the nicest city in BC.
I didn't know about Fernie yet.
Right.
So.
And then you said, okay, I'm going to try Saskatchewan, Saskatoon. You flew there to check it out and immediately decided that's not where you were going to live. You spent 2 days there, right?
Yeah, and I went in, I mean, to be fair, I didn't give it a good chance because I went in October, which is not the best expression, which, like, admittedly, it still probably wouldn't have been my place.
And so finally I said, I don't think I remember saying yes. I think I said, okay.
Yeah.
But you can't move in with me.
You have to get your own place.
I needed a boundary. You know?
I was like, well, I can't afford my own place, so I need to find a friend who will move here with me, which I did.
Yeah. And she said yes and found her now husband here.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of yeses, a lot of life changes as a result. But that was something that I said yes to, yes-ish. And it changed my life. And it was really scary. It was really scary.
I've never thought about that time through the lens of like where we're at right now with our work, our personal work, and how like it didn't make sense to me. I was like, what do you mean you don't want to like be in charge of someone moving across the country? You're not in charge of me. Like you're not in charge of my feelings. You don't need to worry about that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like this is my decision. Which like to me, I'm like, that makes perfect sense.
How so?
Like my decision.
But how do I make sense?
Well, I think that what's coming out is you kind of have a tendency to orient yourself around other people's feelings. And like you're just like, what might happen that is bad and how can I manage that and prevent that?
Mm-hmm.
And so, when someone's going to uproot their entire life and move, and there's always a risk that things go poorly, you're like, well, I don't want to own that. Where I'm like, well, you don't, because that's me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. That never made sense to me until right now.
There were a lot of moments I freaked out.
Yeah. I do
and you were
remember.
so surprised because you didn't really know me back then.
No.
I remember once we were hanging out in Raleigh because it was long distance. And out of nowhere, I remember in the car, I said, I don't think you should move. I don't think we should be together. It was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you were devastated and so confused.
Yes. I was devastatingly confused.
Yeah, you were.
So I was like, what? What?
I'm not good at saying yes.
Apparently not. Because yes tends to mean change.
And unknown.
Uh-huh.
You're saying yes to something that you don't know.
Yeah. Which is
that's really scary for me.
Or exciting.
It is exciting. But there's a lack of, you have to relinquish some control and trust that even if it doesn't go the way you expect it to, you might learn something from it.
Yeah. Well, you never had control anyways.
No, just anxiety.
That's a cool one. Yeah. So I guess we'll just go through. You've messed up my outline, Alex.
Okay, let's just start with the outline now. I'll go again.
I can jump in. It's
okay,
fine.
You go.
I was just being cheeky. I'm not usually an outline person or like for the podcast, yes, but I don't mind a little upheaval. This is more abstract. Mine is more abstract, the first one. And what I wrote was yes to fear. Yes to things that feel scary. And there's been a few of these in my life where I'm in a situation or I have an opportunity or something that I feel just out of my league. And there's this real fear of being out of my league and being seen and the risk that comes with that. And just sort of having this friction of like, ooh, no, I'm not ready, or that's not for me, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough. And there's almost this realization like, shit, like I'm going to have to fake it for a little while here. I'm going to have to like step into this zone and not be a fake person, but derive some confidence in what I'm doing here that isn't necessarily based in my current level of ability.
And that's scary.
That's horrifying because you're going to have to get up to speed somehow, sometime. So there's like
before someone realizes you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. So there's also like there's the learning that has to happen. And this is abstract, but I'll speak to some specifics. My first job that I got, like my engineering job, and I'm sure that I've talked about this on this podcast some time ago. But I got an offer from a company that it's essentially like getting drafted to the Yankees. Like you don't get that offer. And I had just done a really good job networking and getting involved with some professional clubs while I was an undergrad. And I remember even on the interview for that job, like I went through a couple of rounds because I didn't even intern there. I didn't co-op there. I didn't have a foot in the door. Like usually they hire from co-op positions or intern positions because they get to see you work a little bit. I was a cold hire. And so automatically, like I'm the one that comes in that no one knows. Like there's people of my tenure and my age at the company, almost all of them know one another from somewhere. And I was just like, no one knew me. And so even in the interview, there's this part of me that was like, fuck it up, like sabotage it. Like you don't want this pressure. But I hung in there, I got it. And just Oh man, talk about hitting the ground running. And there's part of that that's a little bit of a test. Like they kind of want to make sure that you've got it. And when you don't got it, I mean, or you don't feel like you have it just because you haven't been in that situation or had to use your education in that exact way, you definitely feel like you don't got it. And you make some mistakes and, or you feel like you're definitely going to make some mistakes. But there's a real lean in because it's like, well, I'm here. I have to learn because if I don't, I'm not going to keep this job very long. And there's a growth that comes out of that situation. And there was that I'm like eternally grateful for because almost more so, definitely more so than my school. It really taught me how to think, how to move through conflict, how to problem solve, how to like be around authority, like be around people who were so much more senior than me, but be at the table with them because they need me as much as I need them. And yeah, gosh, like actually I think that's kind of what changed my perspective generally with people was like I can be an graduate. I don't have a master's, I don't have a PhD, like just a regular old scientist engineer sitting at a conference table in a meeting with like a senior VP who's like got multiple master's degrees, a PhD, has been in the industry for 30 plus years. And we can be having a conversation about like problem solving and troubleshooting a new process. And that was normal. That was normalized for me. And that's part of the reason I love that company so much is that they made it very flat like that. Like, yeah, management decisions, corporate decisions happen in a hierarchy, but problem solving, that was flat.
So how did that change your perspective on people?
Well, I think from that, I mean, and this is an active reflection that I'm doing right now. There's been a number of times where I have found myself in rooms with people that I feel like I don't belong there, or getting opportunities that almost feel surreal. And some of that is work ethic. I mean, I think about my athletic, especially in CrossFit, like that wasn't me schmoozing anybody. That was just that was performance based. And then when you also happen to be kind of like a charismatic and smart person, I think you have opportunities given to you. And I think that's why you and I had so much involvement in CrossFit for so many years after we had our CrossFit Games appearances, because, we were intelligent. We were nice to be around. Like there's just a little bit more beneath the surface. But after that, I think about the connections that we've made in cycling specifically very early on in our like careers. I mean, Rebecca Rush, Christy Moan,
Meg Fisher,
Rach McBride, all of these people who've kind of like come into our universe, or maybe we've come into theirs, and it's felt very natural, even though at times I'm like, oh my God, how am I here?
You think you're asking that question. I'm asking, what am I doing here?
Yeah. And then most recently, like getting to spend a weekend with Deb Armstrong. And it's like, this is a recurring thing. But I mean, now that I think about it, I think I learned that really early in my actual career, my first career, just by having it normalized. And, each of those exposures and friendships now came from saying yes, having Rebecca, like accepting that invitation, having her on the podcast, like saying yes to that. I mean, I was sweating, yes to invitations and time with Christy, yes to an invitation from Deb. It's yes to people. And there's always that same initial like intimidation. They're like, oh my God, like, but I'm just me. I remember when we at RPI, when we got put in that cabin with Meg Fisher and Gretchen Powers, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, my God, my God, my God, my God. But they've just turned into really great friends. And that's that yes, like we are friends with Rebecca, friends with Christy, friends with Deb now. Like, and these people want to keep in touch with us. It's not like, okay, well, see you never. Deb's like, I'm so glad that we got connected, and I'm so glad that we get to stay connected. And I really value that. And it's not because I only value those types of relationships and those types of people. I mean, there are people who, you know, I've said yes to dinner with, you know, a person who I'm not great friends with, and then I get to know them better. And that is just as important to me. But there's that initial friction, that like mismatch and you know, knowledge or ability or something with us that feels really scary to me. And there's some fear. And so when I feel that in my body, that's my sign to say yes. So whatever it is that I'm resisting, that's where I want to go, because that's where the opportunities are. That's where the growth is. That's what I think.
Yeah. Fear. Yes to fear.
Mm-hmm. You counter condition that, because it's such a visceral.
It almost is, when I think about fear, there's, when I'm most fearful, or there's that adrenaline of fear, of like doubt, that's when I'm about to do something important.
Yep.
And so if you run away from that, you don't even get the opportunity. If you face it and you trust yourself and you have confidence that you'll pull it off by faking it or knowing or trusting in your abilities and who you are, then you can gain.
Because saying no or like avoiding it is choosing to make yourself small and stay small.
Like you don't deserve it or something, or you can't do it.
And you're never going to grow from that. Like either it's awesome and it just is something that you do forever, and, you know, a person that you cherish and have a relationship with forever, or it's not awesome and you learn from it. And that's not, like, none of this means that you should ignore fear. Like, I think fear is a very important response. And there are times when you should definitely not step into fear, more literally. But I think when it's showing up as a resistance, and that's where it's coming from, it's showing up as fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of being embarrassed, fear of feeling seen, fear of not feeling like you're good enough. When it's that specific fear, that's when it's like, oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll figure out what the yes means and what it requires later, but it's a yes.
But someone listening might say, well, I'm not Alex and Meredith. I don't even have anything to say yes to. I'm not being asked by these all-star athletes to hang out. I'm not given these opportunities to say yes. But I mean, you were getting opportunities before you were Tactic, before you were, I mean, your work opportunity, CrossFit opportunities. And I think it speaks to how you treat relationships. And it doesn't matter who it is, you almost always give them the time of day, and you get to know them, and you engage. I mean, I remember when we first moved to Fernie, you wanted to get to know the people who own the ski shops and the bike shops. Like that was something that you wanted. It was, I want them to know me. I want to have relationships with them. And for me, I'm like, no, I don't want that. Like, I just want to be a normal person. You know, I don't need special treatment, or not that that's the goal, but you just do such a good job of building relationships and finding common ground. And this is people who own stores or just people on the internet. You engage with them, and you give them your time and your energy. And that is there on the lower level, and it helps to nurture these other bigger relationships. And you give a lot. And that's why I think the yeses come. And I think you can be that person even if you're not a K-list celebrity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what are we here for if not that? That's always, I always fall back to that. It's like, what else are we doing? Like, it may as well be a yes to relationships and connection, because like that's what we're here for, I think. Mm-hmm. And that just scales up and down, you know. the yes to coffee with someone that invites you that you don't know. If if there's resistance there, where's that coming from? You can identify that feeling on macro and micro levels, and then just let it scale up and see where it goes. And it's not necessarily going to like, scale up in social status. I don't think that we need to be looking for that as like a currency or measure of how well you're doing. I think meaningful relationships and connections that feel right to you and matter, and that open the door for different opportunities and experiences within your life. That's what we're talking about. And who is involved with that? It's irrelevant, really. I'm just naming people because I can, and to me, it contributes to that feeling of that surrealness. But I mean, the most almost the most visceral memory that I have is the work one, is the engineering position, and that one, no one in that company is famous. I could throw out names. You'd be like, who?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's be willing to identify when you're feeling that resistance, because you're going to be able to feel it, and then like pay attention to it and build a pattern of stepping into it to some degree and not just running away. And doesn't mean it's always a yes. Like I don't say yes to everyone. I don't give everyone a mutual exchange of energy. I'm not a person who, like, if you send me a wall of text through email, like I may or may not respond to that. That's not what this is about.
Yeah.
It's about just showing up authentically and making connections in an authentic way and letting things go from there. And sometimes the connection doesn't, like, sometimes it's just a miss and it's a disconnect, and that's okay. We move on.
Yeah. I think there still is power in no. Just because there's power in yes doesn't mean
that
there's no power in no. And I think even if you're sitting here and you're an introvert or you're super shy, introverts still need connection. And so maybe it's not going out and putting yourself in the situation where you're at a big gravel camp with a bunch of people. Like that for me wouldn't be my favorite type of thing. But there are other ways to say yes. And when we say yes, it's not say yes to everything or say yes to the same things that we say yes to. It's saying yes to things that you want to say yes to.
Yeah.
And realizing that if you want to say yes, but you're feeling that resistance, to identify that and override it to a degree, at least recognize it and maybe knock those walls down. If it's a no for you, that's okay too.
Yeah.
There's some nuance.
Well, I think that's a good segue into your next one, because your next one is a bit how a yes to one thing is kind of a no to another, and that's
Right.
okay.
So mine is a little weird. It's yes to running. And I'm not saying yes to running when I started running, although that is important, but I've talked enough about that. It's a yes to changing coaches and approaching running in a fresh way. Not knowing how it was going to be. I'm liking the freshness, but I don't know how it's going to materialize in May when I run my marathon. But with that change, there's been other changes that I've had to make, and I've had to essentially say no to triathlon at this point because the running is becoming my focus. I'm enjoying it again. I initially picked up triathlon because I felt a little stale with my running. And so it was a way to keep running because I liked it, but add in biking, add in swimming, mix it up a little bit. But now that I'm reinvigorated in my running training, I don't feel I need that complexity in training. I don't need the swimming. I don't want the swimming anymore. I'm seeing that swimming is impacting my running. So I have to say no to swimming right now if I want to prioritize the running. So sometimes when you prioritize something, when you say yes to something, it means that you might need to deprioritize something else. And that is triathlon in this case. So there's the power in saying, no, not right now. And I feel kind of silly because I've been talking about swimming and committing to swimming. And I did commit to it for, I guess, 1.5 years almost. And now I'm like, I'm over it. But not just because I'm over it. Priorities can change. Balance can change. Just because you say yes to one thing doesn't mean you need to say no to that other thing for the rest of time.
Yeah.
I might, reconnect with swimming again. And all of the work that I put in to learn isn't going to go anywhere. I mean, yeah, maybe a bit, but the knowledge is there and the practice was there and I learned a lot from it.
Yeah. And learned that you could learn almost.
Yeah.
And that's valuable by itself.
Yeah.
But I think it's important too, because like this is something that you were developing quite an aptitude for. I mean, you could, and this is not an exaggeration, like you could have gotten your pro card in the half Ironman distance. Like you could have gone pro, whatever that means for Ironman, after your race in North Carolina. And so, and people know that, like multiple people have pointed that out. So to be on that trajectory and to have that level of talent early in your career and then say yes to something that is going to basically displace triathlon from a competitive standpoint. It pushes it out. There's no more space for that. It creates the no.
And that's basically the story of my athletic career.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she's on the path to the Olympics. Wait, what? She's going to school?
You can't go to school.
Oh, you could be a really good squash player. You could play on the junior team. Oh, what? You already played too many other sports? It is like that. There's a lot of, I just was really good at sports. There were so many opportunities and I was like on the path. And then I'm like, psych.
I didn't actually want to do this. I want to do this other thing more. Yeah, but I do think you have to know what you value and what you enjoy and not just what gets you the most attention or has the most potential. Because I think that's how people get into situations where they just become so resentful of the thing that they are supposedly like the best at or that they do and that defines them in some way. There's a real danger in that.
Yeah. I mean, when I started feeling resistance towards swimming, I took a closer look.
Yeah.
And it was why. And it wasn't because I really disliked swimming. It was just because running was taking up more time, capacity, and I felt more focused and I felt like swimming at this point was taking away from it. And getting up at 5:30 in the morning to swim and then having to run after, it's just not conducive to running. And then it impacts work. Triathlon is so hard to balance.
Yeah.
It's too many sessions in a week.
Yeah, especially when you are trying to kind of double dip on the running.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm not just running for half Ironman. Like you're also running to prep for a marathon, and that prep looks different.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still doing strength training and biking.
Yeah,
beyond a different type of training for that. So it is a lot.
I like the marathon distance though.
Well, I'm glad that you said yes to it again.
Yeah,
and that it's been, yeah. It's a unexpected pivot. I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that, but hopefully happy for you. Not that it matters how other people feel for you.
Yeah, and I can always jump into a triathlon. I could prep for it in a few months.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like, I actually don't think that you require the level of maintenance training for half Ironman that you might think you do. Even the swimming would come back, and even if your swimming suffers a little bit, it's the shortest leg.
Mm-hmm.
You can afford some minutes there and just improve in transition and on the bike, and it becomes irrelevant.
Yeah. I mean, the main reason I was focusing on swimming was not necessarily to get faster. It was to not hate it when I was swimming with the pack of people,
and not
which
have to,
I achieved in my second triathlon.
Not have to deal with the CNS dump when you get out of the water.
Yeah.
And be like, wow, I can't believe I survived that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. So back to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My next one is yes to me. Yes to me, back to me. And I'm realizing that these are all kind of abstract now that I'm looking through them. But I guess this specifically means around this time last year is when I really started to take a hard look at my work and what I was using my time for. And where I felt like I was sort of burning the candle at both ends and then also holding a lighter under the middle of it, and how that was impacting really like everything in my life. And it's not like the only factor at the time. I think that, in full transparency, I think that our relationship was causing a lot of stress that I maybe misattributed to my work. But I do think that I felt a pull away from a specific type of coaching for a while. And it just took some time to actually pull the trigger and say yes to work that was more reinvigorating, and just like yes to taking a breather and kind of recentering and refocusing. And I would love to say that decision had materialized in a more significant way than it has. I think that, I have taken over some work that we were outsourcing. There's certainly been more energy for the creative work and more energy for my training. But it wasn't, this one is an ongoing one, because it wasn't as easy as just flipping a switch and all of a sudden having, endless time and energy for marketing and creative work, even though I really, really, really wish that is what happened. But what I do think is that it allowed me the space to sort of explore the space a little bit and, do some work, but also, have the space within me and within us to do some of the work that we're doing now. And I think that had I not let go of coaching, I would not be able to do the relationship work that we're doing. I couldn't do it. And that's a big yes to me. And it's, we can talk about it more when I have more to say about it, or I have more understanding about it. But I did a lot of personal work, and I think that's valuable, but it's starting to become clear that it's not necessarily the work that I needed to be doing. Like, I think it's still foundational in a way, but I've sort of opened my eyes to the reality that there's some level of avoidance of the harder work with me personally. And I think the only reason why I'm in a situation where I can even consider walking down that path is because of the time and energy and space created by finally doing what I drug my feet with for the better part of a year, and taking a specific kind of work off my plate.
Yeah. When you say that you haven't really seen it materialize, I think you just did. You just explained how it's materialized. I think maybe you didn't end up in this ideal world where you have endless time for creative projects, but you ended up in a place that wasn't total and complete burnout, which was the path you were headed on. I mean, I think you were already burnt out, but it wasn't implosion just yet. And then it also materialized in providing space for a lot of this other work that will then materialize into more capacity for work or for other things.
Yeah.
It just maybe didn't materialize in the way that you expected it to.
No. Yeah. I thought, just what I thought and what happened were different things, which is the way it happens sometimes. And that's not to say that I always worry about my former clients listening to these and feeling bad, or like they contributed to my burnout in some way. And that's not the case. It's not like one person specifically. It's not that. I think that some people when they work in helping fields, and this is true of nurses, therapists, coaches of all kinds, consultants, I think that some people develop a greater capacity for compartmentalization and holding space for people, but also holding space for themselves. And then I think other people have that capacity degraded. And it's not anyone's fault. I just think there's a certain personality type that's prone to that. This is what I've learned. And especially if you don't have good boundary setting reinforced, if you are the boss and you get positively reinforced for, working more, taking more people, not establishing communication boundaries, just bending over backwards, like trying to go over and above because like you think your value is that. yeah, that's gonna lead to burnout. But that's not anyone's fault. That's my fault. I mean, and some of it was not even predictable. So it's not even all my fault. It just is a situation that created itself over a number of years and got me to a point where I needed to stop that work for a while. So I'm only saying that because I care for the people who I've worked with, and I want to make sure that that is heard correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay.
I'm sure they did. It's too bad because you're a great coach. Although you're still coaching in a different capacity. You're still spreading wisdom to more people, having almost a greater impact in a way.
Yeah. And I think that is what I fall back on is what impact do I want to have?
Mm-hmm.
And if I coach, what kind of coaching do I want to do? Because it's not to say I'm never going to coach or work with people again, but it's going to look different if I do. But I can't possibly answer that question while also coaching people. So here we are. Okay, you're up next.
Okay, so mine is also a little bit abstract. I was listening to a podcast this morning and they asked the question, can people really change? And the answer was long. I think that there are inherent qualities in people that don't change. And then there are ways people can change in their behavior. But one of the guests said that he believes that the biggest change, and it's not so much the person changes to be a different person, but they transform. The transformation is them becoming more of who they are. And that struck me. Because I'm in a transformation period. And I'm not trying to change who I am. I am who I am. I have my history, I have my tendencies. But I can strip away some of that, like, I think you just strip down to your core who you are, and you gain self-esteem in who you are, and confidence, and you find the people that support that and that work with you and fit with you in your life. And you're not trying to be a person to fit in with a different group or do things because that's what other people want you to do. You just like are who you are, and then the work is being comfortable with that.
So it's almost like stripping away your like protective mechanisms.
Yeah.
And sort of,
or even understanding them.
mm-hmm.
And that might change your behavior, the way that you interact with people, the way you are in relationships, the way that you approach sports and accomplishments, and
it's like
how you set goals.
Unmasking in a way.
Totally.
But it's like, how do you take a mask off if you aren't aware that you're wearing one?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's like a metacognition required for that, and a level of like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, talk about letting go of control. There's a surrender there, because it's like, I don't know what's under this mask. Do I want to know? You do. I mean, I think you do.
It's somewhat similar. It's deeper. It's similar to coming out. Like, I think a lot of us who are gay or queer have this, we either don't know for a period of time, but it's there, or then we do know and we hide it and we control it. And we control the narrative and we control our behavior. We try to fit in. We keep it behind closed doors. We only like let it out in private or with certain people, maybe eventually. And then eventually you just have to surrender to it. You have to like tell people. You have to be who you are. And I did, at least. Not everyone does this. And then you come out and then you realize who's accepting of you, and you slowly just kind of come out of your cocoon, and you're a butterfly. It feels like that. And some of that heaviness and that protective layer is shed. And you feel like you're actually genuine. You're building genuine connection with people. I was so so private for so much of my life. And I feel like this is almost like a new coming out, but it's like coming out to myself.
Yeah.
And it's stripping away the layers that I didn't know were there and that I had. And it's letting people in that way. And it's connecting with people on deeper levels. And it's changing how I show up as a person. And I think in that, I'm becoming more of who I want to be, but couldn't because I was protecting and I was behaving unproductively to protect myself.
Yeah. And it's so interesting how deeply entrenched you can get in your own hiding. I mean, think about it. We've absolutely said this on this podcast more than once. Gay people have a superpower because they come out, and then that's the closet that they're in, and straight people are in closets and they don't even realize it, and they don't get to come out, or they choose to not come out. I'm like, so the gay closet was the first door in a room of closets. Turns out it's not like I think there was this belief. I had it for sure, and I'm sure you did too, based on what you're kind of saying. This belief, like, I've come out. This is who I am. You guys should come out of your closets too. Like, you have any idea what you're talking about?
Yeah, you don't even know, especially when I was 26.
Yeah, which feels late. I mean, it's like you knew nothing. You knew nothing.
I hadn't been in a serious relationship. I don't know how my generational trauma is going to show up.
You hadn't even met Tads yet. But that's how it feels. You can feel very self-realized and very, confident in who you are without really knowing, because that's what that feels like. And talk about saying yes to fear. Once you start to realize that there's a whole different person under there, that's a scary feeling. Because talk about exposure.
Yeah.
If you take all the masks off and you stop being the person that you think you need to be, and all you're left with is who you are, and someone rejects that, that's to your core.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the only way that you can really love yourself truly, like in the most authentic and real way, is to know that person. Because otherwise you are kind of loving some version of yourself. And that's where, like, there's that insecurity that creeps in. If you're like, well, if I'm not this, then who am I? Which is actually a legitimate question, because you may not know. But I think there's this is where that insecurity for getting older, physical changes. It's like when you love a version of yourself, you may legitimately have a lot of self-love for who you are innately. But I think it's complicated, and you might also over-attach to certain versions, the athlete,
Mm-hmm.
the 30-year-old with good skin, the mother, the helper, the caretaker. Like, all of these things they're masks that you wear. They're not you. There are things that you do often, but they're like a specific expression of some part of maybe your character, but also some measure of you that was set in place by someone else, probably. And so when that starts to come down, he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. But without that, who am I?
How will people love me?
Yeah.
People are going to love just me.
You're like,
Just me.
I don't know.
Not accomplishing anything. They're just going to love me for who I am. You're telling me that's true. That's kind of the resistance.
Yeah.
So if I never accomplish anything, you're telling me people will still love me?
If I don't have really nice clothes, you're telling me people will still love me? If I don't put out catchy videos that start with, hey, you're telling me people will still love me? It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Sometimes. That's
so
the
I'm
scary
saying
part.
yes to that.
Yeah.
To change, but not in the change of being a different person, because I don't think that gets you anywhere. Like,
I think we've all been through that.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, people can change. They change all the time. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's less change. It's more like the what are those candies? The the never-ending jawbreakers,
Yeah.
gobstoppers, where you like, if you work at it long enough, you get to the core.
Yeah, I never got to the core.
Usually you just smash it. But it's like that. That's the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not changing into a different candy. It's getting to the middle of the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's still, I mean, it's so much, it's also just how you defined certain words, but I think you evolve. But I think you're going to evolve in a more significant way when you are that core, because you allow it to be you, and you're not pushing people away.
Yeah.
You're not protecting yourself from hurt or fear or abandonment. Like you're just in it. And I don't know. It's so hard to explain.
Well, I think one way to think about it is, because sometimes people have a hard time conceptualizing identity, but beliefs are not as hard to conceptualize. And I remember we were listening to a podcast yesterday with Mark Maron and Barack Obama. It was his last podcast, Mark Maron, the WTF podcast. And Obama said something about like, know what you believe, because he does a lot of, I guess, work with human rights lawyers and kind of leaders coming up. And he talked a lot about sort of the negative side of social media and how just it can be very polarizing and is very polarizing. And he talked about, it's so interesting to hear him talk this way, but he talked about kind of the performative side of cancel culture and about how the sort of left-leaning politics has gone the way of kind of, the way right-wing politics used to be, which is just moral policing and dying on every hill and just having no leeway and no flexibility for differing beliefs, and not even differing beliefs, sometimes just a failure to communicate things in a way that like lands. And his advice for people, but definitely for people in leadership, is to get really clear on what it is that you believe, because when you're not clear on that and your beliefs are set in place by other people and what you feel like you should believe, really you're just performing beliefs. And that's a really heavy lift, because anything that isn't that feels like an attack on your beliefs. So that's, you see people who they identify as progressive. And so, they have to take stances on everything. And when someone doesn't take a stance on something, it's not a measure against that person who's not taking a stance on something. It almost probably feels like a measure against that person for taking a stand. And it's like, well, I can't support you now because you don't take a stand on what I take a stand for. And if I support you, then what does that say about me and my beliefs? Where it's like, if you just have beliefs that you hold and that you are, you truly believe them, then you don't, things stop feeling like not everything feels like an affront to those. Not everything feels like an attack of those. Like you're like, no, you're good. I believe this. I don't know if you believe that or not, because we've never actually had a conversation about it, because social media doesn't allow for conversations. But you can actually believe whatever you want because I'm clear on my beliefs. And I think it actually works the same way for identity. Like if your identity is set in place by sort of false metrics or who you think you should be based on whatever, then you're going to run into a lot of friction a lot of the time. Because anything that doesn't support that identity that you do or you experience is going to feel really painful. And it's going to be confusing.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of if someone is running a race for external validation and then they fail
Yep.
because it's not their true identity. It doesn't matter if you fail at a run, maybe finishing a run, because you're still who you are. You're still a runner. It's still your identity. Your value isn't completing a race. But if you are a runner because someone is going to cheer for you or say that you're awesome or it's going to look cool and you fail, that's going to have a huge impact.
Yeah, if you're running so people will like you, then anything that isn't probably frankly outside of your capability, anything that isn't perfection
Mm-hmm.
is going to feel really crushing. Whereas like look at people who and I don't want to put, again, this is not putting athletes on a pedestal, it's just the example. But people who have a lot of success in their sport, they are accepting of all outcomes, probably because they've experienced them, but also because they don't matter. That's not why they do the thing that they do, even if they are very successful at that thing. They do that thing because they love it and it's who they are. And then they also happen to have success. But people who chase outcomes and who chase success because that somehow enhances their value and their worth, don't tend to get them. Or if they get them, they don't last.
Mm-hmm.
There's not
They
longevity.
have to go find something else.
Yeah.
Because that's where they get their value from, because they don't believe that they have inherent value.
But think about what our culture puts in front of people's faces.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people believe they have inherent value in our society.
Yeah.
I genuinely, if you just stripped everything away and you ask someone, are you worthy for just who you are? I don't even think I can't conceptualize that. Who I am without what I've accomplished. How do you even wrap your head around that? Not even accomplished, but like, who are you even? Who are we?
Well, I think you could, this is a rabbit hole, but I think that when you look at spirituality and in modern society and in our cultures, there's a reason why it's always been there. Not necessarily like organized religion, but look at indigenous cultures. Like there's a belief, and there has to be a belief, I think, in something bigger and greater, because that is orienting.
Yeah.
Because without that, you will stay in that question forever. And it's, you look at the issue with kind of this like post-enlightenment individualized era that we're in is there is no moral standard. It's all like, what do I want? What do I believe? And we're setting in place criteria for worthiness and for good and bad based on our personal beliefs. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with your personal beliefs, but if it feels disorienting, that's maybe a little bit of the reason why. Because it's hard to answer those existential questions without just like, because really you're just a human on a planet.
We
spinning
may
around.
just be brains in vats.
Yeah, you have to entertain that possibility. But, I think that is why that's why it always, for me, comes back to like, I am here to connect. Because that's when I feel the most myself. I can't answer that question myself. But I know what it feels like to connect with other people and to share time and to share space and to feel like a human being in the world. And that doesn't come when I'm by myself. I can certainly have big thoughts and big feelings and enjoy time by myself, but it's connection with other people.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think same.
You can't answer that question alone. And maybe that's the spiritual side of things. And like you hear people talk about God and lots of different ways, but if there is a God, he's in other people. If there's an entity, if there's a bigger thing out there, I think that it lives in other people.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Deep.
So I've been saying yes to deeper thoughts and spiritual reflections lately. That wasn't going to be my last one, but maybe it should just be said. Which is not a return to religion. It's just a thought process. Something it's in my head.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I've been thinking not so much about that. I guess deeper, like purpose, meaning, fulfillment, all those things that kind of come with core selves and worthiness and value. But those are big questions. And there are a lot of theories and perspectives.
Yeah.
So that's super interesting. Great conversation.
I would be remiss to not give you the opportunity, because your last one on the list is yes to cats. And I realize there's absolutely no transition from meaning of life type questions into cats. But
I think it's an important transition because we don't want to leave people hanging on that.
Okay.
Which is just this vortex of something of thinking that you
ever
could go
stare
down.
into space,
right?
And wonder how we got here.
Yeah,
that kind of
and
thing.
then you leave. Okay, have a great day.
All right, well, see you later.
So this is a necessary bookend.
Okay.
So Meredith, this is going to surprise people. Meredith was the one who wanted Ivy, our first cat. And I was really hesitant because I don't like change and we're free. We don't have to take care of anything. We were traveling a lot back then. And I was just worrying about the complexity of having an animal, even though I grew up with animals and love them. And I said, let me think about it. Don't do anything. I want to think about it.
I believe this conversation happened on maybe like towards the end of September.
Right.
2019.
And I think you definitely didn't not do anything. I definitely did put the deposit down.
Definitely did do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I said, okay, let's do it, thankfully. Which you probably knew, because every time you have an idea, I eventually come around.
Yeah.
It's just how things work. I have to have initial resistance. And so we ended up with this cat, COVID kitty.
But we actually got her just before COVID. We didn't know
Right.
about COVID.
And look at what it has turned into.
A literal zoo.
3 cats and 2 dogs. And counting.
No. Nope.
But I was, we traveled this weekend. We were away from our animals. It's nice. It's nice to have a break. You don't have to take them. It's one less thing to do. But then you come home and you're surrounded by creatures that love you and that want your attention and that fill the space and add life. And that's where we're at, all because I said yes to Ivy.
And I think Ivy would be so happy as like an only
I know
cat.
she would be. But I think she's happy also to have siblings.
Yeah. I think she would have been happy with just Rue.
Yeah.
I think that's where she was like, okay, this is good. Let's not do any more. And then came Mel.
Yeah. And then came Joe.
And then came Ren. And that's it. That's all we're doing.
Yeah. Right. Unless we find one.
What?
Like on the road and we have to rescue it. That's like a free one.
No.
Yeah.
Because it could have diseases that you have to.
Yeah, of course. You would have to bring it to the vet first.
Well, they can't cure certain things.
If it's curable, we keep it. It's the cat distribution system and you have to honor that.
Okay. Well, you can't steal a neighbor's cat because I saw you eyeballing one of those chubby ones up the street.
Yeah.
Those cats belong to someone.
I know.
Cats that have collars don't count. We don't say yes.
There's an orange cat that lives at the end of the road that I run on and I want to scoop him up.
It belongs to somebody.
I know it does. It's a farm kitty. There's also the kitty that lives in the yard beside the dog park.
Oh, the junkyard cat.
Yeah, and I was calling for it the other day when it was really cold.
Yeah.
So I could rescue it.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't come out.
I think that cat has a good life. I saw that cat.
Well, where does it go when it's really cold?
It goes to a house.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. I saw it walking on a sidewalk
one
time, and then it just like snagged a bird out of the air.
It does live, it can go inside.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was like around a house. So I assumed that was probably its
Okay.
house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that cat's not for me.
No, junkyard cat is not for you.
Okay.
Junkie. That's a good cat name.
So yeah, the power of yes.
We went down many a rabbit hole in this episode. So I hope that you enjoyed the storytelling. I hope that it was thought-provoking in some way. And maybe you will reflect on some of the yeses in your life that have precipitated growth or opportunity or friendships or good things. Because I think we don't often spend enough time reflecting on how our lives go and how certain difficult choices and difficult yeses may have resulted in some of the greatest things that we have in life. And so, yeah, I hope that you do. And then I hope that you'll say yes to some new things coming up, especially if you find yourself resistant to change or insecure in certain ways. I hope you'll step into that resistance and lean into it. Because truly, some of the best things come from that place.
Yeah, we're all just humans.
I wish I could clip in that song. Brandy's song?
Yeah, you can't.
I don't think I'm allowed.
Oh,
But go listen to Human.
what if I sang it?
Oh,
We're only human.
okay, keep going. Oh, you don't know the rest of the lyrics, do you?
No,
I don't
I only
even-
know them when she's singing them with me.
Yeah,
What about? Do you want to go?
no. I'll save my singing for a different time.
You're actually pretty good at singing.
I know.
Just
but
sing one line.
no. We'll save it. I'll do an actual song one day. And then
Okay,
people will.
on a paid podcast.
I'll say yes to
in
a
private.
song.
It's protected.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, appreciate you listening to this episode. If you found it insightful, please consider liking our show, subscribing, share it with someone who you think might get something out of it, and we will catch you on the next episode.